Oh, welcome to another episode of the NEL show. It is an important episode that we're going to be having today. It is the last Saturday in the month of May. At the time of this recording, you most likely are watching the replay, and this is the International Month of the Boy Child. There's a day dedicated to it, and of course, the whole month is the International Month of the Boy Child. At least I've made it so. And we're going to be having our parenting panel join us today to discuss and understand how we can move forward in a better light with the boy child, with parenting the boy child, and with bringing out the best of their potential. Bringing out the best of their potential. Many times, okay, our panelists are here, we're so excited. Many times we see a lot of emphasis placed on the girl child, and that is okay. So it's not one should be reduced so that the other is increased. What we are here to achieve with this conversation is the balance and making sure that we are not parenting one and leaving the other one behind, because at the end of the day we need both genders to make the world work. So joining us now, be adding our panelists so that we can get this conversation started. Yes, parent.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, Hero, for choosing to join us. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you. All right, let me add Nene about the conversation. Okay. Mm, live. Okay. All right. So that is going on. Then I'll read a brief, just an brief version of the of their profile, because of course, number one, they are much more than their profile. Much more than their profile, and even their profile continues to increase with the work that they do. Thank you so much, Lene, for being here. I'm so grateful to have you here. I believe Jennifer would join us along the line. She did share that she had an engagement this morning, so she will when she's able to in the course of the 90 minutes. So let me read a bit about Akiroko, then we can get started with the first question. If you're joining in, we're talking about balancing parenting between the boy and the girl child in the International Month of the Boy Child. Mr. Akiroko Akiola is a passionate catalyst for change who has the mandate to increase the quality of parenting leadership and the methodology of nurturing African children as well as adults into greatness while maximizing their full potential. He's an accounting graduate from the Federal Polytechnic, Laro, Ogun State, Nigeria. He had a short stint in the banking industry from 2001 to 2005 and later started a private business to major in financial brokerage. He has a track record on advocacy, leadership, parenting that can be traced across sectors, following the need to consolidate diverse projects, efforts, and intervention with the corporate world and the parenting space. He is a consultant, speaker, trainer, leadership coach, and also an experienced family counselor. Is the author of the fast-growing inspired work Tools for Fathers to Raise Real Men in Today's Boys. Daddy, Where Are You? The title of the book is the founder and lead researcher at Parent Mark Consulting. Thank you so much for joining in. Nene is a family life practitioner, integrated life coach with specialization in child mental wellness education. She currently works with school children within and outside Nigeria to promote family inclusivity, body positivity, wellness, self accountability, and mastery. She is affiliated with several national and international family life and coaching institutes. Thank you so much for being here. So I would ask the first question, it's International Month of the Boy Child. Do you think, let me get your point, do you think that there might currently be an imbalance in the way the boy child is being raised into this century? Being that the average young parents, because this is especially for young parents, our parents have done what they have done, but this is especially for young parents, being that the average young parent is schooled by social media, or at least allows themselves to be schooled by social media. And so they see these things, they see this girl child glittering, and all of these things. And model is one of the powerful form of leadership. So an average parent who has no idea about parenting may just be thinking, oh, let me do more for this child. So this is what I'm hearing every day. Do you think that there is that imbalance, truthfully, whether subconsciously or unconsciously, or do you disagree? I'll start with Nene and then come to Akiroko.
All right, thank you so much, Nkechi. And I feel like calling you Saj Guru, Legacy Hots. Yes. Yeah, I just like, yes, that's what I said. I feel like calling him the Saj Guru, Legacy Hots. His name, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nkechi, for that question. Honestly speaking, we live in a peculiar time, and I really would not want to begin to compare what it is our parents did then as opposed to those that are raising children now, be it boy children or girl children. And if we are not careful as human beings, we might miss to what extent our upbringing influences everything we do. So for some people, they have gotten, there has been this invincible scripting of what it feels like or what it should be like to raise a boy. And there is this, subtle way of what you expect of a girl child. Sometimes we misconstrue domestication, for instance, as discipline. And we take the boy child and the girl child and say, oh, this is the typical job description of what a girl child is. So whether you were born as a millennial, or you were born as a Gen Z or Gen X or Gen Y or Alpha, Beta, whatever it is, if we are not conscious of the influence our upbringing, our environment has on us, we would continue to just be like a loop. It just like that cassette player that keeps playing. It goes back and it continues. So whether you were born yesterday or today, what conscious effort, how conscious are you of the lifestyle or the environment or the upbringing that raised you? So it has nothing, if you ask me, it's not really about whether you were born now or born yesterday. When you sent me this, the invite, and I was curious. Honestly speaking, I was really curious to see whether there will be any activities, as regards to the International Day of the Boy Child. Most people don't even know the date. Yeah, most people don't even know the date. When you call, like when I see the boys around me and I want to interact with them, they are like, is there a day like that? Like nobody in my school said anything. I don't know. But when everybody knows, oh, October, international, girl, there are even songs that help to, cast that message more. So if we are not very conscious, we end up, doing the same thing the same way without necessarily making any change. I like to, most times I like to put myself in the, put myself out there. I am fortunate, let me put it that way, to have 3 boys and a girl. 3 girls and a boy. I have 3 female children and a boy. And I noticed, at the early stage of my son's life, I was very, very unconscious. Let me put it that way. I was very, very unconscious of how I was raising my children. And when I mean unconscious, I looked at the way my own parents raised us. Unlike my parents, it was just, I'm just one child more than my parents, if you know what I mean. So it's exactly the same thing. But I realized that growing up, honestly speaking, we were, I'm going to say this because it's a learning curve. We are all here to learn, right? I realized that my dad never called us, the girls, by our names. My dad, if you see my dad, if you're in a room with my dad and I, you would never, never hear him call me by my name. He calls me, he has like this royal name he calls everybody. I won't tell you what he calls me, but that's what he calls me. But when he calls my brother, he calls him by his name. Guy, I'm calling you. So unconsciously, we just grew up, feeling or having this mindset that if you see me, you must treat me as, that royalty that I am. But somehow, we just unconsciously felt he's a boy. So he grew up, with that mindset. Sometimes, and of course, I'll give it to my parents. We were given that opportunity to be expressive. I remember sometimes when he will come out and say, you guys are always treating these girls very special. I don't know what it is, but something about the way you treat them that I don't like. My mom would go ahead and say, I know when I'm old, they'll be the ones to take care of me. I know when I'm old, they would lay the red carpet for me. She says things like that. But unconsciously, it was scripting. So we were paying more attention. And unconsciously, I was also doing that. I would take my time. I would hail these girls. They were adults. And my son began to also say the same thing. So sometimes he would tell me, oh, mommy, I want to do this. I'll be like, let the girls do it first. Let them take their food first. Let them do this. But why was I doing it unconsciously? Because I felt, oh, girls should be treated as queens. Boys, if we are going to treat the girls as queens, we should also learn to treat the boys as kings as well. So it took me consciously realizing that for some reason, these things are scripted. So you can even be doing things you do to your male child without even knowing that you're doing it. Why? Because there is a certain kind of way we were raised. If you were raised in a home where, for instance, the boy was not allowed to do anything, unconsciously you would expect him to just sit, If he tells you he's reading, oh, go and read, that's what boys should do. If he tells you he's doing this, oh, go and do this, that's what boys should do. So it takes, whether you are born, as a bloomer, whether you are born as a Gen X, X, Y, Z, Alpha, whatever it is, the parents, you need to ask, how were you raised to see the boy child? What opportunities have the boy child been denied that the female children are not allowed to, and vice versa? I also looked at the incidents that happened recently in the United States, and it got me researching how many of these mass shooters are boys. In short, in the whole of American history, it is just 2 women that have been, that have actually been involved in shooting. And I think it was done in collaboration with some guys. So what is it that we are telling these boys? How much, how much of their emotions are we killing? Boys should not cry. Boys should have muscles. Boys should be emotionally hardened. Boys should not smile too much. So how expressive are these boys? Because in life, we always have 2 options. If you are not expressing if you're not expressing your emotions, what are you doing with it? Will the emotions be there? It will always be there. It's just like thirst. If you don't drink water, what will happen? There's always an option. If you decide to sleep all day, what will happen? So it's either you sleep or you...
Oh, I'm not sure. I think in the next network. Wow, She was literally on a roll. Like it was very good points that she was making. I can still see Akiroko, so that means it's the Denise network because I just wanted to confirm. But I don't think it's my network because I can still see you. I think we'll wait a bit to see if she would have to leave. Well, I think Akiroko, we just have to get your thoughts. We just have to. So, what are your thoughts on the question I asked? If you want me to ask it again, please let me know.
Well, okay. Please ask the question again.
Okay, so summarily, what I was asking is, what are your thoughts on the boy child, girl child, the way they are being raised in today's world? Do you even think that there's an imbalance? Because I don't want it to look like we are necessarily forcing the theme or the topic on you. You may not even agree with it. Do you think that there's an imbalance? And coming from what Nene was saying, a lot of criminals, not even just shooting, can be shooting today, kidnapping tomorrow. They're always male. They're always male, and it's male for a reason. Because, of course, the scripting, parenting, and all that. So, what are your initial thoughts? Because we'll then begin to speak about the solution on the way the boy child and the girl child is being raised in today's world.
Thank you once again for inviting me to this program. It's a pleasure, coming here to share my opinion around. Oh, she's back. So it's always a pleasure for me to share my opinion around parenting, fatherhood, child care, and related space around it. Okay, now when you talk about points, how have we fared so far? Boys underparented or still underparenting? Girls over-parenting? Are girls, well prepared for the challenges ahead? So when you look at this, then you won't really miss the point. Rather, right? If we say boys are well, I would say girls over-parenting. Girls are well prepared, for the challenges ahead. So with the right, if we go to a conclusion like that, why are we going to the right? Because everything that happens in this world, anything at all that comes into existence, has its root from the culture and belief system that gave birth to them. Right? So as you are, every one of us now, we are products of our early emotional life. So I love the way when Nene was speaking, unconsciously, that we were raised with, we do the same thing for our children. And I believe that thing even happened to me also when my daughter, because we have two children, a girl, and a boy. But the girl is 18, the boy is 15. So when this girl was about 2 years, anytime I was washing my car, she was always coming to meet me to wash the car, just the splashing water in my car. She would dip her hand into the bucket, try to wash. Guess what I was telling this girl? I would be telling her that, no, please leave it. It is not the job of a girl to wash car. Don't worry. By the time you have the second one, I'm sure it's going to be a boy. Now, the boy will be washing. You stay with mommy in the kitchen. Look at that mindset, right? So, when I got it back, when my girl was around 8, 9, 10, 11, that I needed to do after I am getting enough knowledge that it is wrong to actually, separate works for these people for them to do. Then when I called my girl, please, let's go and watch the car. My girl said, no, Daddy, no. I remember when I wanted to help you and I love to do it, then you declined. You did not allow me to wash the car. Oh, yeah, call your boy. Now you have a boy. Tell the boy to come and wash the car with you. So, of course, now the boy wouldn't do that. He wants to stay with his sister. So when you look at that, you won't really be wrong when you blame it on the culture. Because people, what we don't know, that culture has to evolve. Culture has to evolve. The belief system has to evolve. I said it, I was on a radio station about a few days ago, and I told them that this culture belief system that we are seeing, there has to be a termination to any existing culture that is not really in tandem with the future that we're going. And that's why I always say that we neither parent for today nor for yesterday. We parent for tomorrow. So the culture that we have now, we raise our children with, the culture that we have now, that we operate as a couple, does that culture or do those cultures have any place in the future? So if they don't have any place in the future, now is the time for us to restrict that culture. So the best way for us to restrict that culture now is to fuse the two together. It is wrong for us to say this is a particular chore that a boy child should do, then a girl child should do, then this is how a boy child should look. A boy child should look masculine. A girl child doesn't have to look masculine. A girl child doesn't have to go to gym to trim her body or to want to just to have some muscle. No. It's for boys. Only boys do. Those things are wrong. So if a girl decide that, okay, at age 10, 11, 12, she wants to hit the gym just to keep her body shape, or she just want to take up on any activities in the gym, we should always allow them. It is not in our place to begin to tell them that this is for boys, this is for girls, and that is what we always tell people. You know, that when they invited me to a program last year during the Father's Day celebration, the International Day for Fathers, and they were asking me, what are the roles of fathers in the home? What are the roles of mother in the home? And I beg to disagree. I told them that we should have overgrown this stage, the stage of deciding what roles suit fathers, what roles suit mothers. This is what we've been doing that brought us to the present predicament that we find in many homes. That's one of those things when they will have gone from morning till evening, they go, they bring the money, and guess what? When we were growing up, they told us, they made us to understand that our relevance at home starts and stops at us providing financial muscle, financial assistance to our family, to the home. So you just bring money, then allow your wife to raise the children. So men, as a result of that, we are so complacent, we are so laid back, we lose touch of what is happening in our children because a role or certain roles have been defined and designed and predetermined for us. So we live with that consciousness that once I just bring the money home, it is okay. Whatever that happens to the children is none of my business. I now heap the blame. Upon my wife. So that was one of those things that gave birth, right, to my book, Daddy Where I Grew. Thank God, we salute you, we praise you, we praise Father for giving money to the table. Going from 5 a.m., come back by 10 p.m. But we have some women who also do this. We have some women who stay in the office overnight just to collaborate, with what is happening from the home front. So this is, if anyone is listening to this or they think going to listen to this later, let us raise a good child. Let us raise a wholesome child, whether a boy child or a girl child. Every child has gotten emotions. Let us do away with this is how boys think. This is how girls think. This is how he said, no wonder he's a boy. Boys will always be boys. It is a lie. Boys will always be boys. Girls will not always be boys. Let me use this in rounding up with my short presentation. let me use a balloon, balloon as a metaphor. When you hold a balloon is initially flat. A balloon is initially flat, well deflated, flat, right? So not until you you blow air into that balloon, you use a machine to inflate it. So the pressure of the air determines how big the balloon, then how big the balloon will go, right? So it's the same way. So if you pick a balloon, or if you see a boy now, it is what you blow into that ball that the boys gives out. Garbage in, garbage out. Right? So it's like when you bring up your saxophone. So it is the pressure of what you blow into the saxophone that determines the sound the saxophone will bring out. So it's the same way. It is what you raise the boy child with that will determine how that boy child will behave. While I was going, when we were young, and when we went out, I know the way some boys behave, and I know the way I behave. Why I behave roughly, so because we're not so unexposed, we're not so lucky, we're not so favored to be exposed compared to how some boys were exposed about 40 years ago when we were growing up, right? So when we got to a particular environment that was different from our own, we felt not really disappointed. We felt like we were so strange to the world. We were strange to the world. Nobody told me that when you see a lady as a man, you don't stretch forth your hand forth to a lady. You allow the lady to stretch forth her hand to you, then you respond. Nobody told me while I was growing up that you don't grab a lady anyhow. You don't hold any lady that you never met. You've not been interacting together. Nobody told me. I just felt, well, everybody is the same, that you just talk anyhow. So some boys were raised with social etiquette when they were growing up. Why some boys were not raised? Why people like us, we didn't have, the people that raised us were not that exposed to teach us all those things. So that is one of those disadvantages, that when you don't focus on the purpose of raising a wholesome child in your children. That is it. So as teaching the children social etiquette, teaching the boys social etiquette, teach the girls also. I tell people that I am not teaching my girl child, right, to be useful when she marries in her husband's house. Even that word husband's house is 40. So maybe we are going to deal with that. There's nothing like husband's house. It is their house. Once the two of them come together, they're building a home. They are building a house together. So I am not raising my girl child to be useful, to be relevant, so that the husband will love her. I am raising her to be useful for herself and for the world and to the humanity. Right? That is what the mindset we will be able to raise the children with. So the first thing that we must be able to do is to deal. Let us go to the culture. And when we go to the culture, we are talking again about how to restructure our educational curriculum. How to restructure our educational curriculum, especially civic studies and social studies. About when my boy was about 7 years old, right? That's one of the conversations again in my book, Daddy, Where Are You? My wife called me to the kitchen. Please come to the kitchen, let us do this work together. My wife and our daughter were already in the kitchen. My boy responded to my wife that, no, Mom, I can't be in the kitchen. Because boys are not meant to be in the kitchen, because he has never seen me in the kitchen. So the job of the kitchen, everything around kitchen, is limited to mothers and girls alone. So my wife was leaving. She told me, she wanted to be, I said, don't be. The boy was fine because he has never seen me in the kitchen before. So fine, and I called the guy, bros, who taught you this? I never told you. Once in a while, I cook. There is no food I can't cook. All those things I was nurtured in that area. But when some things came up, I wasn't really so focusing on the kitchen again. But my boy, I never told you this. Where did you see it? And the boy brought out a book, kitchen study, where the job of girls is differentiated from the job of boys. And guess what they have in the list of girls? Saying they wash dishes, cook in the kitchen, help mommy to cook in the kitchen, and don't do this. Then boys help daddy to wash car, help daddy to shine, to clean the shoe, to do all those things, to iron. All those things, they are very, very weak. They are outdated because the future says everybody has to grow up with a round skill, all-round skill, all-round skill. That is what everybody must do. So, first one, we must be able to change our culture. Rather, we must be able to allow our culture to evolve. Then the second one, what do we have in our educational curriculum? So let me stop for now.
Thank you so much, Akeriko. Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate that. That's like public lecture worthy. Thank you so much for your thoughts on the question that was asked. Let me come back to you now, Nene. You were completing some thoughts. Is there some things you would like to complete in your, because you were on the roll, like in a good way. And it was really painful. The network interrupted all of that. Are there some things you want to add before I ask you the next question, because you are the next person to converse, even after you finish up, if you have anything to. Okay, it says I'm breaking. Can you hear me?
Oh, really? I can hear you very well. I can hear you very well.
Okay, maybe it is network. Maybe it's a network, Akeriko.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me go. Okay. So, what are your final thoughts on that? You're completing something. Yes, I can hear you. Oh, very well. Very well. Yes. Thank God for that. What are your final thoughts? Then I will get to the next question.
Yeah, so I don't know where the network cuts me. You know, that's the beauty of online conversations. You'll be feeling yourself and be pouring your heart with passion. Meanwhile, the spirit has left you and you're still vibrating.
Yes, exactly.
But to add to what Kiroko has said, you know, you cannot give what you don't have, really. When it comes to parenting, I like that your son was just being himself by saying, so what does that tell me? It tells me that you're raising children that are expressive, because in some homes, once mommy has said it, once have I spoken, twice have you heard. If you don't do it, whether your father is the GO of the house, you're already in trouble. But he was able to say, no, really, I've not seen daddy do it. And my textbook, of course, there's a reason why you're paying for education in school. So what does that tell me? There is a debt, in information. And this is because, like I said earlier on, we just keep on regurgitating. It's garbage in, garbage out. Truly, it is the same things that we learned as children in social studies that we are still learning now. What has changed? Why do we still have kids that think this way? You know, his son taught. Why do we have kids that think it is not okay for me to probably clean up after myself? Why do we have this, what I call apathy in social intelligence, not just social intelligence, even emotional intelligence? A lot of people, that's why sometimes when you see some boys being accused, for instance, if you have been to some of the markets, you know, and maybe you're a certain kind of complexion, or you dress a certain kind of way, some guys think it is okay to sing after you or call you names or throw things at you. Why do they think it is okay to treat people like that? It goes back to the upbringing. Does it mean that they are wrong? Honestly speaking, that's a question, that's a million dollar question as far as I'm concerned, because to them, they are doing what they think is right. They are doing what they think should be done to the female characters. Because if you look at it, a lot of times they have grown up seeing or believing that a woman should be seen and not be heard. So when a woman is bold enough to come out, some people are, they are touching your skin, they are trying to drag you into their stores. They do all of these things. God help you if they think you are not well covered. They go all out. Sometimes even when you are well covered, they go all out and they, do all sorts of things. Why do we have men like that? Because once upon a time, they were boys. And they saw the way the women in their environment were being treated. So every boy that has gone through some form of social deficit, emotional deficit, psychological deficit, even educational deficit, is growing up to become who? A father. Growing up to teach your children in school. Growing up to even pastor some of your churches, growing up to even oversee some of the religious houses. So what do you expect? He goes in with the power he has been invested, with that mindset and mentality, and is dishing out what has happened, what is going to happen, and what will still happen as a result of who he grew up. So it's not just about us, it's one thing to keep saying it, but there has to be a overhaul from our educational system. Even in the textbooks, like sometimes I take it upon myself to go through the textbooks that these children use. And you see that it's not just, even when I go through it, there is so much to be done, especially in our schools. From primary schools to secondary school. We cannot help as it is now. Unfortunately, I don't know how much we can influence the curriculum. We don't really have that power to influence the curriculum. So what can we do? The other day, just like Akiropa was saying, I had the privilege of going to a school recently, and it was so interesting that what's it called? The people in charge of the school, I don't want to, tell you what school it is, but the people in charge of the school felt that for us to come and, sensitize these children, we needed to shake body. And you are wondering, this thing we are doing is to help these children not to make the same mistakes we are making as adults. Every dysfunctional adult you see was once a normal child. Every dysfunctional man or woman you see once, at some point in their life, only knew just two kinds of fear. As children, as newborns are born with just two kinds of fear. The fear of noise and the fear of falling down. So every other fear you learned, whether it's the fear of even how to approach a lady, whether it's the fear of even how to approach a man, whether it's the fear of even how to approach people of different skin colors, whether it's the fear of even climbing up on a stage, whether it's the fear of snakes or my kind of people, fear of dogs, whatever it is that you are afraid of, you learned it somewhere. So what is it that we are teaching these children that is connoting fear in their head? When I grow up, I should fear this gender, I should not fear this gender. What is it that we are doing right now that we need to correct? Even if, unfortunately, let's be realistic. We cannot, it takes a lot to change a curriculum. But what are we doing in our homes? What are we doing in our space, with our voice, with the knowledge we have? It might be difficult, because one thing about communication is that it has to be repeated, because repetition enhances retention. So if we keep on saying it with our medium, our space, whatever it is, let us just keep putting out the message out there. How much in tune are our children with their emotions? Sometimes the only emotions a lot of children know in terms of negative emotion is anger. And anger is not an isolated emotion. It's something that should be experienced and expressed. But like I said, if you cannot express it, what do? You're either going to repress it or you're going to become aggressive with it. It's either of the two ways. So how are we teaching our children to be able to balance whether it's their positive emotions, whether they are feeling confident or they're feeling or upset, or they are feeling, tired, or they are feeling down, or they are doubting, or whatever, or they're feeling a little bit dramatic, or they feel like, how do we tell them to express these emotions? Are we only excited when they come and say, oh, thank you? That's the emotion of a contentment. Are we only happy when they say, oh, I feel joy, I feel energetic? Are we only teaching them? How do we teach them to balance these emotions? When I feel at some point, children are going to be adventurous, are going to be expressive. What are we telling them as to how to handle the different emotions? Are your children able to differentiate what it is they are feeling? Can they express it and say, Mommy, I feel like I'm having this symptoms of jealousy? And you say to Fiakwa, hey, God forbid. No. If he feels it, let him understand why he's feeling that emotions. Ask questions around it. And parents should also learn to ask what we call open-ended question. Are you fine? Yes. Are you good? No. That's yes or no. We should get to a point where we can open up conversations, let them express themselves, because it's not a 1 hour talk. It's not something you do, in a rush. It's consistent learning. Repetition of things, being able to pass out the message has to be done continuously. There's a reason why we act the way we act, behave the way we behave. It's because those softwares has been installed consistently. That's why we see, daddy and we stand up. We see mommy and we are laid back. All of these things it comes from those, like I said, those applications or those things that we have been through over the years. So welcome, Junie. Let me stop here so that we can have other people also contribute.
Thank you so much, Lele. What a very powerful completion to what network interrupted. I'm really grateful. I think that networks, it seems to be she's maybe buffering a bit, but I'll go ahead to read her profile because she's in education so that she can let us know what can be actively done. She has left, but she will join in shortly. So let me just get started. Thank you so much for joining in. If you're joining in, we're talking about the parenting balance between the boy child and the girl child, and what should be done differently, especially being that there seems to be a lot of celebration for the girl child in today's era over the boy child. So we want to try to bring that balance in the most healthy way. We have Nene Akiroko and Jennifer on this panel. And okay, Jennifer is back. Let me add her so that I can read briefly, just the brief version of her profile, and we can get her to answer the educational part of this question, which has been rightly spoken about. Social studies, all those things. There are things still reiterating some of these things that we once gotten out of the system. Okay, let's see. I sent the requests. Okay, I'm thinking of reading the profile while. Okay, I'll just start with the profile. I believe that she's going to join in, maybe a bit of network. Jennifer Udodike is the founder and head of school at Fruitful Orchard Montessori in Abuja, Nigeria. She is also the co-author of the Montessori Baby Book, which has been translated to over 15 languages. Since discovering Montessori in 2011, Jennifer has continued to build her knowledge and experience in child development using Montessori principles. She is an AMI trained Montessori guide for 0 to 3, 3 to 6, and 6 to 12 levels. She has 3 children whom she has raised using Montessori principles from birth. She inspires parents around the world to bring Montessori into their lives by sharing their Montessori journey and offering courses and other resources via blog www.idoma.com. She serves on the board of the Association Montessori International, the first African to do so in over 90 years. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for choosing to join in. I will go ahead to ask your question, but I'm seeing some sort of network interruption. Are you okay now? We're happy to have you, Akiroko. They're saying hello to you. Can you hear us? Because I'm not sure.
I think her network is still buffering from the
Okay, not just one moment to see what we can do, because I don't want us to pass over this. We're going to go into a deeper part, which will begin to take us to the completion of this topic. It spends close to an hour now, and I want to make sure that we do it in other levels so that we don't jump from level 8 back to level 3 again. Thank you so much for staying with us. Everybody that is watching, we appreciate you. We're grateful. And the replay will be available for you to watch if you've missed the beginning part of this conversation. All right, we'll try one more time. So I've sent Jennifer the request, and we'll see how it goes. If not, I'll move to the next question, but she's currently trying to join in now because I've sent her the request. Okay, we're having very serious network challenges. Okay, maybe I will just keep that question. While Jennifer is trying to join us, she can join us in between the conversation. Let me move to the next question, which is, and I'll start from Nene again, just like I said, I want to start and then we'll go to Akeropan. Of course, I believe Jennifer would have joined us by then, so she can answer and then answer our own educational question. You spoke about something that was really important that definitely would have come out in this conversation along the line, which is about crimes, criminals. One of the things that has been continued to be talked about when we're trying to understand the difference between, say, the girl child or the boy child is the high level of criminal rates that we have and crimes being committed by especially the male gender. Could this be as a result of parenting? And I will give some statistics, or I will give some basics from some things that I know, because I do watch a lot of crime documentary a lot, and many of these kidnappers, they are sex offenders, they are all kinds. They usually were abused as children. Not like, oh, that's now an excuse, but they usually were abused as children, and then they just winged it through their life, and then they got ahead and started to do all of these things that have now made them a criminal, some of them global criminal. What do you think can be done differently to reduce or eliminate rather the crime rates in the society, especially by raising the boy child rightly? What kind of scripting needs to be used? I know that one of the things that our practitioners usually talk about is how the person that is even parenting needs to be parented or needs to know what they are doing. But I want to get your thoughts on that. And I would layer it with this question of, in a situation where a person is not as great with as a parent, or doesn't have the resources, or doesn't have the wherewithal to buy courses or whatnot, what can the person do? Is there some sort of intentionality that's supposed to come with parenting that at least for maybe an average level or less than average level parents can still make the person parent right if the person is not able to get all of these great resources? I think we'll start from there. So Nene, please, you can begin, and then Akeropan will come in on that.
Wow, this is a very, very weighty question. And while you were talking, a lot of things were just, carried through my head. And one thing that just, flashed my mind when you were talking was if you say education is expensive, try ignorance. Ignorance is more expensive, more costly, deadly, and the repercussion, it can spiral into generations as well. So I understand the challenge most times where we prioritize hunger and say, oh, we need to, especially in times like this where a lot of things are difficult. If we can solve the problem of wrong upbringing, if we can solve the problem of lack of emotional intelligence, if we can solve the problem of dysfunctionality in families, so to say, then we have reduced unconsciously the rate of crime in the society. So we should not, in as much as we understand the challenges of the times that we live in, education most times is at the tip of our fingers. We are not taking for granted the fact that education can also be a problem, because some of the other day we saw a textbook that was meant for, I think, 4 to 6, carrying wrong content, carrying the wrong information in the name of trying to educate children on what sex is. So we need to know that education is available, but if you don't know what you are looking for in education, you can, through education, learn how to shoot a gun. You can, through education, learn why this race feels racially profiled, or this gender feels less ignored. So let us not get it twisted when it comes to the hazard or the harm that lays out there for both the male and the female children. But like we said, like we said, most times we are, it's not like female children are not prone to societal pressures. It's not that female children do not have things that they deal with. Oh, sincerely speaking, the odds can be against both genders, in the sense that we profile the job description, like Mr. Kiroko said, we profile the job description of the female child and that of the male child. So we are telling her, oh, don't shout too much, reduce your voice, do this. So even when she's feeling those same emotions the man is feeling, we are tampering her down. But when the guy is feeling those emotions, we are lauding it and saying, yes, it shows that you are strong. When he beats you, beat him back. When he shouts on you, give him double. When we say things like that, it's not like they are both exposed to the same societal pressures. Just the same way the boy child faces bullying, the girl child faces bullying as well. Just the same way they are exposed to all of, whether it's societal pressure, environmental pressure, whatever pressure it is, they both go through it. However, we keep telling one to repress what she's feeling, or whatever you are feeling, and tell the other one to aggress what it is that they are feeling. So just like I like what Akiroko said earlier on. He talked about how, at first he was telling this person, you should do this and you should do that. In other words, it is the man that when he comes back, in the night, he's the one that should be tired. Even though we both went out, you are built for durability. You are built to last. Remember, we have been telling you since that you should prepare yourself for a time like this. So even when you feel tired, unconsciously, you should be able to still look after the children, still be the one voice. So you are the police, you are the police of the family, you are the judge of the family, you are the teacher of the family, you are the parent of the family, you are the cleaner of the family. The children see all of this, and we somehow exonerate the father figure in the house. So unconsciously, what is the child learning? Learning how to be distant, learning how to be invisible, learning how to not take responsibility. So when I go out and I feel the need to hit on people, I've never learned how to take responsibility. So why is society punishing me for doing something that has been teaching me all along not to take responsibility? So you find out that even though women and men have the same exposure to these issues in the society, we are unconsciously teaching one to step down, repress your own, don't speak too much. This one, the way we know that you are like sometimes I listen to I need to say this, but it's a little bit, it's not funny, but it's a little bit funny, right? I see people give, you know, they give testimonies. Maybe they've struggled with conception for a long time. And what the man says is, now I can tell you I'm a man. So what gives you that impression that it is at this point of conception? So all along you've been doing marriage, all along you have been trying to cohabit or even understand yourself. You didn't know your title or your gender. Now the time has come for you to show that you are a man. And the way they say it, they put the hand like this. If you've noticed it, now I can tell you I'm a man. What does that imply? We give a leeway. We give a leeway for men to just move around invincibly. And you can see the implication on the society. So when they come out and they are street urchins, when they come out and they feel that their voices need to be heard, we start blaming them. To me, it's not right. It's not even fair. It's not fair. We need to start letting both genders express their emotions, feel what it is that they're feeling, and know how to act on it. Let's not teach them to feel and deny. That's what we do. You're feeling this emotion, please deny it. It's not you, it's not your portion. You shouldn't behave like that. That's not how girls behave. That's not how boys behave. No, we should get to a point where we teach them to feel what it is they are feeling. When you feel it, through it, why do I feel what I'm feeling? So when I feel this way and I'm thinking through what it is I'm feeling, how should I act subsequently? So that's the 3 stages I feel we should pay attention to. I feel tired. Can you think through what you have done during the day that made you feel tired? Oh yes, I played ball, I read, I played game, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so how do you act when you're tired? You should take a rest. You take a rest. But sometimes we flip it. Don't tell them you're tired. Boys should not be tired. Girls should not be tired. When you come back from school, you do this. No. Let us learn to begin to let them take responsibility for their emotions. So that when they grow up into adults, they are not shocked. They are not worried why they feel that when somebody talks to me in a certain way, I should go and buy a gun and prepare for the day I will shoot you. It is wrong societal wiring. It is wrong parental wiring to think that it is okay for just the woman to be the father, the mother, the police, the judge, the teacher, the cook, the cleaner, everything. And sometimes in our culture, we have a way of glorifying these things with proverbs. We have a way of glorifying these things with even songs. Oh, mommy, you know, you see all those kind of things. They tell you it is the woman that is the man that when the child is not good, they will say is the what I can't remember the song. One something, something like that. They say, Baba loco, something. So you will see that our culture now helps us to say, okay, if the child is a bad child, that means the mother did not train her or him. If he's a good child, it is the son of his father. Where do we get that from? Oh, great. Everybody froze at some point. I was wondering, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So as I was saying, it is really, it is a joint effort. Fathers in the house. I love what I feel like calling you Sagure again. Mr. Kirokbo is doing in the, doing in the space of fatherhood, putting himself out there. And also not just putting himself out there, because one thing that we have come to realize is that there are a lot of aspire to perspire kind of speeches out there, which to me is not what we need. We need people that are vulnerable enough, not from a point of victim of being a victim, but vulnerable enough to share their story and to share the power from what they have been through, which is what he's doing. Because sometimes you find out that even in our practice as public practitioners, we have more women. We have a lot of women that are doing this. They are doing this because they want to get it right with their family, and also help to influence the sphere or the circle of their children's their children's friends and all of that, so that you are sure that the people that my children mix up with, they are good people. But beyond your children's circle, they will still have need to go out to the real world. They will still have need to mix up. I remember this is out of it, but sometime last week or last 3 weeks, we went somewhere. I went out with my children to, we went to visit a family friend, and they took light there, and it was in the evening. They took light, everywhere went dark. And my last child, he said, "Oh my God, what happened?" I said, "No, this thing happens. It happens in real life, so get used to it. There are times in life that everywhere will not be lighted, but it is what you have in you, what you know, and the experiences that you have been, what has been taught, that will light up that place." That was, it now became just change, talked about that until the light was restored. But that's how life happens. There are doctrines, there are environments that will test our children. So I am not always intrigued by, so that was how I now grew up. I now became this. Between that age, what was missing? How were you able to, pass through all of the societal pressures, the adolescent pressures, the adult pressures, the gender pressures? How did you pass through it to become who it is you are now? So I'm always excited when people are really enough to tell their stories. Look, it wasn't rosy for me. I admit, I did this as a young child. I admit it wasn't. We grew up in a society where even me myself, I used to beat women. People are able to come out and be vulnerable and say this, but I have to take myself through the lesson, so that when that men are listening, they are not saying, "Come and hear him," or "He said women should be in the kitchen." No. Tell people how you are able to scale that hurdle, because just the same way we are here dealing with issues of parenting, a lot of families are going through it. A lot of women here are finding it hard to, raise their children in a balanced way. Because if you do it at home and you're doing it right, like I said, your child will still go out. He will go to the school. When he goes to school, he has friends that their parents are telling him something else. So he's wondering, like, why is it only my home that they are saying this? But you need to allow him to test that thing you are teaching him. Let him feel what others are feeling. Let him feel what it feels like to even, be questioned and think through it. Remember I said earlier on that we should begin to let our children know how to ask open-ended questions. So to be able to challenge his friends and say, "Why do you think the way you think? Where do you know why your parents taught you this?" He should be bold enough to say it. So now he will now be able to act subsequently on what it is he's hearing from outside. So when it comes to the rate of crime, the rate of whatever it is, both genders are susceptible to experiencing it. It's just that sometimes one gender doesn't want to, go all out. Sometimes it could even be from, let's take for instance, I like that you made mention of this thing that happened in a school recently. Personally, I have never watched that video, because personally I'm someone that is very, very conscious of what I put in my head and my mind. But I asked myself, there was so much fuss about the girl, but I think there was a guy that was involved in it as well. So there was nothing about the boy. So we expect that women should be a certain kind of way, but it takes two to tango. If she did this, she did it with someone. There were boys around, there were girls around. So why are we now stereotyping or profiling a gender and not raising them both to say, "Why do you think this way you think? What do you think? What makes it okay for you to do this and post it online? How should you act in other children that are there, what should they have done differently to ensure that this thing was not, didn't escalate to the point where it did? All right, I think I would like to
Thank you so
have
much,
further
Nelly.
idea.
We appreciate your, yeah, just the depth, just not just the passion, but the depth in which you communicate. Thank you. We have less than 30 minutes. I hope Jennifer will be able to join us before we wrap up, but it is a network that is she's really having problems with, but we hope so. I would ask you a different question now, Akiroko, which is, what do you think, how do you think boys can, okay, you can't hear me?
Oh, you can't hear?
You can't hear
I
me?
cannot hear you. You are breaking.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness. I can hear her very well. Maybe
because
it's
she
your network.
can, hmm,
Maybe you type the question. Type the question. I cannot
okay,
hear you. You are
Oh.
breaking.
But can you hear me,
hmm.
sir?
Okay, if you can hear it, then I can pass the next question to you. Can you hear Nene?
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, okay. All right,
Let me
what's the question so I can ask him?
let me ask the question. Yes, okay. So the question that I have for him is, in what ways can boys be trained in the, yes, I know, no one, yes, you're saying that you can hear me, I know, but it's just him. I think it is network clashing with my network. So in what ways, the question to Akiroko is, in what ways can boys be raised to be vulnerable? Because this may be some of the issues of while they go into these things, because they're trying to form hard, but just like Nene was saying, it's stepping into crimes, and from documentaries I've seen, they have nobody to talk to and maybe nobody to listen to as well. And so there are two things. These men go into, some can even turn like transgender, some other people, they go into crime. So what can boys do, what can parents do rather, to help their boys be more vulnerable? So yes,
All right.
that is. Are
So
you hearing?
she's asking you what parents can do to help their children be more vulnerable, so that they don't get the wrong information from other people around. Because sometimes you get instances where boys, begin to come out in different genders or begin to do things that are very, very alien from their upbringing. So how can we train the boy child or even the girl children to be more vulnerable?
Okay, thank you. So I really got this now. So the only thing we can do, there are many things we can do. Like, I'm going to give two things, two that we can do.
Okay.
One of them that we can deploy in this area. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you
We
very
can
loud
hear
and
you.
clear.
We can hear you. Just a
Okay.
little
Number
community.
one, right? Every parent, every father must be able to design educational system, domestic educational system for the family. So in building your family, we have about 9 different systems, right? So one of them is, one of the very top of these systems is education system, domestic education system. What is it that you guys really want to achieve in the home, in the house, in the family, in the society? What do you want to achieve? How do you want your children in this home to think? How do you want them to think? What type of books do you want to expose them to? What type of movies do you want to expose them to? So these are the things that will really decide on how they are going to handle their vulnerability. So that's number one. Then number two that I want every father, every parent to give their boy child, right, is a metaphor used as shovel. Shovel, we use shovel as a metaphor, right? Why am I using shovel as a metaphor? Because everybody, whether a boy child or girl child, every one of us has gotten our brain. We've gotten our brain, we've gotten our foot in our shoe. So what that means is we have the ability, we have the capacity to hear, to come to anywhere we want in life. So when we give our boys shovel as a tool, what do we want to achieve? So that as you are doing, you can dig yourself out of any problem, find yourself, right? How do you do this? We are not raising boys, we are not raising girls such that everything will just go on smoothly on autopilot. So they are not going to have any, they are not going to, every child yes, must be able to stand on its own tentatively, even though they still need parents to consult when they fall into any challenge. But at 18, we must be able, we will have handed over shovel to them. So that shovel will work in mental capacity, it will work in emotional capacity, and it will always also work in spiritual capacity. So meaning that in any area they find themselves, if it has to be about mental issue, they know how to dig themselves out of that place. If it is an emotional issue, they know how to dig themselves out of it. If it is spiritual issue, they know how to dig themselves out of it. But guess what? This shovel we are handing over to them, they learn the techniques on how to use this shovel from all parents, from every adult around them, right? That is what they do. So now, let's go back to the issue of emotions. So the issue of emotions, the has actually dealt with that area very well. So what parents, what we don't always do, or rather, what we always do is we either validate their emotions or inhibit their emotions. Let me say that again. What we do, and which is very, very dangerous, is we either validate the emotion or we inhibit emotion. When we validate the emotion, fine, we recognize it. This is what they are going through. And the next thing we do, none of my parents find a way to fix it. Okay, take for instance, a boy child is always angry. A boy child is always shy. A boy child is always exhibiting off-target behavior. And parents or teacher can actually say, well, I know what you are going through. I know, but you don't have to hide that now and face the class. So you are validating the emotions, but you have not provided solution. Then the second one, that people do, parents do, is to inhibit the emotion. When you inhibit the emotion, you see the emotion that child is going through. So you validate it. Then the next thing is you smash it on its face. Right? You smash it on its face. You even tell him that if he doesn't get off that now, you will deal with that child. So that is those two things that we do. But what must we do in order to make them to be vulnerable? We use the technique of inviting their emotions. We invite their emotions. We do this. When they go through any challenge in life, you have actually mentioned it. I believe, or I think you are going through something like this. And the next thing now is right for you to, rather, you are very correct when you do this, and it is no problem when you exhibit it. Because while I was at your age, I went through this also. But don't you think don't you think we help us if we are able to identify how you are feeling right now? So telling them to identify how they are feeling right now, it has a lot of, if you don't have all these emoji tools, if you don't have them if you don't have them in the class, it may be difficult. So you display them, about 5 of them. Ask the boy child, ask the girl child, identify how you are feeling now. They pick any one of them because at times they may not talk. they may not talk. But when they see how those things are lined up, remember, sometimes ago I said something here that these guys that you are dealing with, they are epic generation. So they are picture driven. I stand for image driven. So when you see images, their brain open up. So they will be able to identify what they are going through. When they identify what they're going through, maybe sad or smiley face or neck or all those things. When they pick it, then you sit them down. So from there, you begin to interact. During the process of interaction, the solution will have arrived. So when people engage boy child like that, the boy child won't find it difficult to run to the teacher, to run to the auntie, to run to the father, to run to the mother, and explain, this is how I am going through. This is what I am feeling now. This is what I am feeling now. So it's so easy for them to be vulnerable. I mean, it's so easy for us to teach them. Then one last thing that I want to say is, how often have fathers spoken to their boy child that they were once vulnerable when they were at their age? We not presented ourselves, our children, to our boy child as Alpha and Omega. How many times have we presented ourselves to them as El Shaddai? How many times have we presented ourselves to them like we were born again since we were age 10? How many times have we done that? How many fathers have spoken to their boy child that at age 12, I have lost my virginity? At age 13, I started to smoke. At my 100 level at university, I had only one paper. I was repeating. I repeated class. How many fathers have done this? So if these guys, especially our boys, once they see that no father, no adult around them has modeled vulnerability before them, so they will find it difficult to see vulnerability as normal way of life. So they will see that way. I put myself as an example. There is nothing about my past experiences, about my childhood, about my stupidity in life. Even when I was already a grown-up child, my early in marriage, there was no stupidity I did that my children don't know about, that I've not told them. There is nothing that I did in my past. That's why I purposely used that word stupidity. That I ventured into that my children did not know. And I made them understand it was because there were some skills that was not, or they were not imparted in me. There were some skills that I was not trained on. So those skills I was not trained on now gave up the lapse when I was already 30. So what you guys do is not that you are still teenagers, learn these skills so that when you get to age 25, 30, you have the shovel already to dig yourself out of the problem. So nobody handed to me any shovel. Nobody handed over to me any rake, any farm equipment. Nobody did that. They were just teaching me, don't steal. Make sure that you read your book very well. But there was no way. They didn't use anything to model all those things to me. It is easy to teach children, to tell them to pass instruction. Passing instruction is not enough. Find a way to model all those things in them. When you model in them, there is no way it will not be useful to them. So that is one of the best ways of 3 things that I've spoken of that we can teach these guys to be. So the first thing is expose yourself to them. Let them know what you went through when you were growing up. Let them know how much you have stolen before. If you ever stole in the company, let them know. I told my children when my first year, my first month, when I was doing my IT in Mobile, that unknowingly, I didn't know that if you go on with what is this envelope, envelope, mobile inscripted envelope, right? I just packed like 10. I took it home. I wanted to take it home so that I could write letter to my friend that I'm not doing my IT in Mobile. So on getting to the checkpoint, when they saw it, I was arrested and detained as a fraud. Security detained me, and it called the MD of Mobile that, sorry, sir, they just caught a guy that stole company's property. Hear that word. I was like, what did I say? Just ordinary envelope, right? Thank God my boss came down at that particular time, right? And he attested to the fact that this guy has been with me in my unit for a month. He has never stolen anything. Perhaps this is what I call lack of orientation. Nobody orientated them when they came in that not even a pin from this office must go with you to your house. So I documented that day. And I was telling my children that as small as envelope where I work, if I pick it and it was tagged as fraud, they arrested me and I was tagged that I stole in the company. So I told them, so what I miss is anywhere you find your place, not even a chalk, not even a pen of your colleague, of your friend, must find its way into your bag. So those are the areas we must be able to be put together, right? That this is the first time I called in my life as a teenager, I made them to understand. Even as adults, when I lost money, somebody kept money with me. And without the person's permission, I put all those money in an investment. This was in 2009. All the money, run to millions, went down the drain. I was arrested by police. I was taken to EFCC. I was doing everything until somebody came to bail me out that the investment I went into, he knows about it. And when the money started coming out, I will pay this thing back. I told my children, when police came to our house to arrest me, I told them. So these are the things we are teaching them, especially my boy. I was telling him that as you grow in life, there will always be challenges. So when you encounter something like this is the kind of shovel you will use to dig yourself out. So when we hand this over to them, it is that it's money. And I'm glad this thing is working. Anytime my children feel anyhow, they burst and they start to cry. There was a time my boy came back from school, and the next thing he wasn't eating. He was calling, somebody annoyed him, and he was crying. And I made him to cry very well. This guy was, that was last year when he was 14. He cried. He cried his heart out. He said he wasn't just like the following day. We followed him to the school. Then we saw the counselor. This is what happened to this guy today. He please, madam, escalate this and let me know the outcome. The case was escalated, and the parents of the other guy that caused the issue was invited, and that is how we solved it. And imagine if the boy now came back home, he knew that if he cried, maybe his father would beat him, but the father would, do something that will not encourage him. He would just unto himself. He wouldn't do anything. If I tell my dad now, my dad wouldn't do it. He would just hide the feeling. But guess what? That thing he deep into me. But we escalated it and it will stop. So those are the areas that parents and fathers can actually teach children to be vulnerable. Not forgetting Let every family design their domestic educational system. Let us forget for now, not total forget, don't leave whatever the curriculum the school is up to now. Yes, because like Nene said, it's going to be difficult for us to change the whole curriculum of education in the system. But as a family, as a what type of educational curriculum, we call it domestic educational system. What type of domestic educational system do you have for your family? That is what is going to drive the positive narrative that we want for the boy child, we want for the girl child, we want for the whole family and the nation as a whole.
Thank you so much, Akeruso. Thank you. Your passion is really inspiring, and you've shared a lot of things, which brings me to what Nene was. If you think so, we're sharing all of these things, and for any parents, we'll have other couple of topics that we'll come back to address at different seasons. For any parents who think so they can't afford this, they cannot afford that, there are shows like this that you can watch and you can go and execute. So it is when a person doesn't want to make a way that they keep making excuses. Thank you so much, Akiroko. We have to wrap up now, so I'll ask you the last question. So you'll answer and then we close out. Unfortunately,
Able to join us at this time. To improve the celebration of the boy child.
not just, oh, we are celebrating it in the family. That's nice. But what can we do? What do you think we do to the celebration of the boy child publicly? And what is the role of the church? What role do you think the church can play in also bringing this balance, or at least working on this paradigm of the parents? Because we've established that the parents is really going to be the foundation for how these people turned out. So what can the church do in improving the paradigm of parents so that we have better boys, of course, turning to well? That is the final question. After you answer, we wrap up.
Okay, I think you are breaking a little bit. Not a little bit. You are breaking a lot, actually, not a little bit. You are breaking a lot, but I think I heard through. Yeah, I think I heard through some of the question. You're asking what the church could do, right?
Yes, to help parents. What can the church do to help parents do better with raising their male child? And then what can we do as a society to better celebrate the boy child publicly, just like we do with the girl gender? Those are the two questions.
That's a very wonderful question. That's a very wonderful question. But before I answer the question, I want to touch on something that skipped my mind while I was talking. One area of childhood that we do not pay attention to is special needs, those with special needs. And one way or the other, we have people or know someone that has children or child that is dealing with one special need or the issue or the other. And this has, sometimes it's not even physical. Sometimes it can be mentally, sometimes it can be emotionally, sometimes it could be psychologically. But one thing I want parents to pay attention to is that give your children space. Give them time to be themselves. A lot of children are dealing with what you call Can you hear me? All right. So I was saying that a lot of
Yes, you were saying a lot of people are dealing with children. Yes, that's where you stopped.
Yeah, a lot of children are dealing with what we call ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Some are even dealing with spectrums or traces of autism. But if you do not know, and we are not so big here in our country to sometimes it can be expensive to do all of these medical checkups to really know how your children are functioning and what things they are dealing with. But let us be patient with our children. The moment, I like what Akiroko was saying earlier on, how he has told his children his biography or his autobiography. So if they choose to write a biography about their father, they know where to focus on. So it's not going to be me writing it because I'm not his child, but his children will be able to do a good job with that because he has told them about himself. So as parents, we need to know that we should not put that societal pressure. Every child will not be a high flyer. Every child will not read medicine. Some children are going to be interested in making hair. Let me rephrase that. Some male children are going to be effeminate. It doesn't mean we should label. I don't know what I was. Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay.
So I was saying, let the church, let the religious homes, let institutions help children express themselves, whether it's in the arts, whether it's in the sciences, whether it's in literature, whether it's in finance, whatever it is they choose to do. The best we can do is not to silence their voice. The upbringing we have had most times is you feel that it is rude for a child to question an adult. That in itself is an error. When children ask questions, please, as adults, as institutions, as religious houses, let us be patient enough to listen to them. Even if what they are saying, you cannot phantom it. But that's the first act, that's the first place of connection. If a child can feel that I can talk to you and not feel undermined, if you listen or if you listen to documentaries of some of these tyrants, some of these people that have turned out even to be mass shooters, it all started because they felt neglected. It all started because they felt nobody was listening to them. So let us not make our children feel like they don't have a voice in their home. Encourage the children to ask questions in churches, in mosques, wherever it is. The teacher should not take the shine alone. Let there be room to ask questions, and never you make a child feel like his question is irrelevant. Whether is a 2-year-old, as long as there is a class, as long as there's a teaching going on, let there be time for question and answer, no matter how simple or how complex that question is. Our environment should help children ask questions so that they don't go outside and think that every doctrine and every statement they hear outside should not be questioned. It is when we give them that room to thrive and ask questions, they can now come out and say, okay, in church, I heard that these people, or in mosque, I heard this and this. Is it true? And as a parent too, I like what Akiroko said, be vulnerable enough to say you don't know. There is no trophy in being, yes, in my days I was this, I used to be this. There are times, honey, I do not know. Can I find out before I get back to you? That way you have shown them that even when they don't know, it is okay to go and ask. So I would like to stop there. Let us let children be. If you feel like they are not at par with their mates, please, that's the right time. That's a good time to keep showing them love. Let them know you support them 100%.
In 1 minute, Nene, what can we do to celebrate boys better publicly?
Okay.
Or is there anything that we can do that in about 60 seconds? What do you think we can do to celebrate boys better? Maybe create dance. What can we do? Because like you said, you are looking for celebration of the boy child this month. A few people did, but I mean, compared to somebody said she even checked the hashtag. Somebody who is a mom of boys, and they were, is it less than 100 or something like that? Of course, you can't compare. It to be over 1 million if it's a girl child. So what can we do as a society? Just because it's also passing a message. What can we do to celebrate the boy child more in 1 minute?
Like I said earlier on, just give them room to be themselves by showing them what it means to love. Let them learn to love themselves so that it is not just on 16th of May that they feel like their voice is heard. My voice should be heard every day. Every day, the way the girl child's voice is heard, I should be allowed to express myself and also to experience love as well.
Okay, fantastic. I think in 1 minute, what can we do to celebrate the boy child more as publicly as the girl child? In 1 minute, what do you think we can do? Maybe 3 things, 4 things that we can do.
Can you hear her? She's asking in 1 minute what we can do to celebrate the boy child.
Yeah.
I'm your interpreter.
In 1 minute, what we can do to celebrate a boy child is let us hand over a curriculum to a boy child. A curriculum that will entail their emotional vulnerability. A curriculum that will entail ways on how to handle themselves first, how to discover themselves, then how to discover who they really want to, and how to discover what problem they want to solve in life. So we teach them on this. Then lastly, if they choose to marry, right, how they are going or they are supposed to handle opposite sex in their life. So that is the only thing that I know, because when you look at what is happening now, that is the origin of the problem that some of men are facing now. Some men, they've not actually discovered them. Some men, they've not discovered the problem they want to solve in society. Some men have not even discovered how to handle a woman that comes into their life. So I think a curriculum that I want for to celebrate a boy child now, enough of all this parade, enough of dance, enough of chit-chat, enough of any, let's have a kind of curriculum that this is it, so that every year that curriculum will be built on. It could change, we can still maintain it, so that at least every boy child will always know. Last year that I attended a boy child celebration, International Day of Boy Child, this is what I meant. And they bring the curriculum to a particular place where it is updated. And that is the only thing that can last. Not that every other thing that maybe we just celebrate, we dance, we do graphic, we do all those things. No. Let us hand over a curriculum to every boy child.
Thank you so much, Akiroko. Thank you so much, Nene, and also Jennifer, of course, because she wanted to be here as well. We're so grateful. We're happy about the things you're doing in your field, and we're happy that you're always ready to serve anytime we bring up a parenting issue that we want to talk about on this panel. It is not taken at all for granted in our team and for me personally. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for listening. Whether you watched live or you're watching the replay or you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, of course. And of course, share this video. Let the education keep going viral, because this is what we need at this time. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Nene.
Thank you. I told her you're my favorite panelist, you and Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Thank